Good afternoon. Welcome to Recovering Perfectionist Mama, Grace in Progress. This is a 3-part series entitled The Scapegoat's Guide to Healing Without Shaming Yourself. Part 1 is Forgiving the Myth of the Perfect Family. If you were the family scapegoat, one of the hardest things to grieve isn't the people. It's the belief that there was a version of you who could have fixed everything. Perfectionism often forms because a child learns that harmony is conditional, meaning it depends on your behavior, it depends on how you act, it depends how you interact with those in your family unit. Love requires performance, meaning you have to do what you're told, you have to be a perfect child, you have to not upset anyone, you have to meet expectations and maybe even exceed them. And safety depends on being good enough, right? Did you do all your homework? Are you getting good grades? Are you involved in school? Are you helping people that need you to help them? Are you literally like setting yourself on fire for others so you make sure that they're happy, that they're content, that there's no anxiety or stress or frustration, or you're not causing any sort of issues within your family unit? Kind of keep your head down and, go about your business there. You weren't chasing perfection, you were chasing stability. The ability to be able to breathe, the ability to not have to read whether or not your parental unit was regulated, whether they were calm, whether they were having a good day, whether you would get in between the crosshairs of them and maybe get some ire for what you were doing in some way or what you weren't doing. Were you doing the role that had been assigned to you? The perfect family doesn't exist. And I think we all intuitively know that. However, we hope against hope sometimes that maybe it is true. It is real, right? That we will have a family unit that will love and support us like we love and support others. That we won't have to question whether or not that we're worthy. That we won't have to question whether or not we're good enough. That people love us, that people care for us, that people want to support us. Not that people are jealous of us, people that are critical of us. People are talking poorly about us. For what reason? We don't know. The perfect family is often a myth sustained by denial, not effort, right? Because denial is easier than taking accountability for how to make the family better. Because ultimately people sometimes just want to be upset. Whether it's because they've experienced a lot of trauma, whether it's because they just are people who are negative Nancys, right? Or negative Neds, whatever you want to say. Overly critical. Nothing satisfies them. They may even have hidden mental health issues that you may or may not realize. Histrionic, for instance, is a big one. It's a person who generally makes everything about them. And that person, at your biggest moment in your life, you can bet your bottom dollar that they are going to have some issue. They're going to do something to upset you. They're going to do something to throw you off your game and make it about them, because that is what they do. They are going to project that you caused a situation, that you are causing essentially distractions. You are literally pitting your family against each other because you don't know how to handle yourself and your situation. Again, gaslighting, projection, everything, manipulation. Took me years to realize that a lot of people use manipulation. Whether that's using the cold shoulder. I know somebody in our community had commented about not talking to people as a form of abuse. It can be a form of abuse, but it's all about context. And so I know many of you have had traumatic and family systems that weren't necessarily the healthiest. So that's in contrast to if you were a parent who was using silence as a means of controlling your child, that is definitely abuse. And a lot of people have experienced that. They've experienced the cold shoulder. They've experienced, the silent treatment, which is clearly not something that I would recommend for anyone, right? I mean, it hurts whether you're an adult or whether you're a child, right? But ultimately, if that is being used against children, I mean, it is a control mechanism. It's like a gaslighting kind of thing too, It's like because your child doesn't understand why you're not talking to them, why you're ignoring them, why you pretend like they don't exist. And I know some of you have experienced the thing where, the parent or parents are so upset that they're literally like, do you hear anything? Because I don't hear anything. I mean, I hear a little something, but I don't even know what it is. It's like seriously, what are you, like 4? Like, why are you treating your children that way? You're showing them that their words are not valuable. You're hurting them deeply to their core, because if they can't count on their parents, who can they count on? I just don't understand using those tricks on people. I mean, you're an adult. Like, don't stoop to the level of someone who does things like that. I mean, those are things like the person rightly said that could literally tear someone apart, right? Cause issues, cause hurt, cause shame, cause embarrassment, cause a lot of pain. The scapegoat is usually the one who noticed the cracks, which is why they're the problem, right? Because they are noticing things that everyone else may have noticed, but they don't have the courage to speak up because they're afraid. And I know that I mentioned in the comments that a lot of people do not want to be at the center of conflict. I personally don't like conflict. I know that's kind of contradictory considering that I'm an attorney. However, I don't like conflict because I learned early that conflict is messy. Conflict can be anxiety ridden. And I don't like to be in conflict. I don't like to be arguing with anybody. I don't like drama. It's just not who I am. And so, but I will say that I do have a knack for pointing out the obvious on certain situations. And that can make people very upset because I do call people on certain things that they need to be called on. And I've been labeled aggressive and abrasive before by family members, which is okay. I mean, that happens. Because if you're speaking the truth, you're going to agitate somebody. You're going to agitate somebody who doesn't want to acknowledge the truth of what is actually happening. And that's why truth tellers often rub people the wrong way. Not because they're trying to be nasty, not because they're trying to be rude, but because they're calling out something that nobody else is acknowledging. And they're making it a point of contention. They might end up getting somebody else to their side, right? So then you have 2 truth tellers instead of just 1. Letting go of the fantasy is not giving up, it's waking up. It's refusing to block things out. It's refusing to lie about what's real and what's not real. And ultimately, I keep going back to the phrase, to thine own self be true, right? You have to be true to yourself. You can't close your eyes and plug your ears and pretend that everything is fine, right? Or that you're living, in a fantasy world, because that is ultimately not real. And that ultimately degrades your trust of who you have for yourself, right? There are people who get by on blocking things out and get by on ignoring facts, right? That's their prerogative. But for me and who I am, I don't want to pretend that things are fine when they're not fine. I'm not good at pretending. I'm not good at faking. I'm not good at any of that. And so I think that people that do that literally are giving themselves a disservice. They are using a coping mechanism that is not an effective coping mechanism because at some point they're going to have to react to what is reality, right? And ultimately, some of us have our own coping mechanisms, whether they are healthy coping mechanisms or if they are coping mechanisms that we developed to survive certain situations. Emotional eating is one, as we know. Also, sleeping a lot is one. Over-exercising is one. Shopping is another one, right? Everyone has a vice. Some people have illegal devices. Some have illegal devices, right? Legal or illegal, whatever. Like eating, overeating. Is that illegal? No. But it's a vice. Over-exercising. Is it illegal? No. Is it a vice? It can be, right? Blocking things out. Again, coping mechanism. Not always the safest, not always the healthiest, right? So, I would invite you to answer this question if you feel comfortable. Again, no compulsion. You're not required to do it. You won't be graded on it. Haha. Won't be graded on it. Ask yourself, what did I believe would finally happen if I just got it right? So in closing, healing doesn't start with blaming the family. It starts with releasing the role you were never meant to play. So our next episode is going to be why silence isn't always cruelty and how boundaries actually work. Thank you for tuning in to Recovering Perfectionist Mama, Grace in Progress. And I appreciate each and every one of you. What a great community we have. And I'm thankful for every one of you. And feel free to drop some story ideas in the comments if you feel like doing that. And thanks so much. Have a great day. I'll be back with part 2.